Hello and welcome to the Record Club, brought to you by Record Store Day, the official charts and National Album Day, and proudly in association with Bowers and Wilkins. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jess Iszatt, and we are very excited to say that our guest this evening is Jacob Banks, who's going to be talking all about his brilliant new album, Lies About the War. If you are new to the Record Club, we're going to be spending the next half an hour or so talking to Jacob about the brilliant new record, and then we're going to be putting forward some of your questions about the album for him to answer. So if there is anything that you would like to know about the new record, whether it's about a certain song, maybe a particular lyric or the artwork, drop us a question in the comment section below and I'll be asking a selection of them in the second half of our chat. On top of that, one lucky person who sends in a question today will be randomly selected to win a pair of Bowers & Wilkins PX7 over-ear noise-cancelling headphones, which I have on right now, and they sound great. So don't miss out on them. Get your question to us, and yeah, get them to us now if you need. I will have the new record very soon. It's on its way. If you haven't already got yourself a copy, we definitely recommend that you order one once our chat with Jacob is over. So let's get straight into this week's Record Club and say a big hello to Jacob Banks. Bonjour, how are we doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. You're in Paris at the moment,
Yes,
right?
Paris, I have a show tonight. First show in a long time, so I'm gonna try to do a good job, obviously.
Did you get to choose where your first show would be, or does it just so happen that that's where things have begun?
Just so happened. Yeah, just
And
headline.
how long are we talking actually? Is this like pre-pandemic or
Uh, Technically, it's been a month,
oh, okay.
but before that one, it was like 2 years, and that the show before was before the album came out. So it's like playing a bunch of new songs and yeah, in front of like an audience that's coming to see me versus like the show I did a month ago was a festival. They were coming to see a lot of people, me being included. But it's a whole different set list. Like it's not a festival set list, it's a show set list.
I see. Yeah, it is different, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously, talking about the album, Lies About the War, uh, I know that the titles, so for me, I feel like it's quite like, I kind of looked through and was like, oh, okay, which one's the title track? Because it does sound like it could be a sort of track title.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I noticed that it wasn't one. Um, and it kind of made me feel like, oh, maybe this is going to be, I don't know, talking historically. I'm not really sure. Like, it kind of just like made me think a lot of things. And then as I listened to the album, it kind of made me think that it was more talking about like how emotions perhaps can skew or shape our memories. Can you talk to me about like what it actually means, like what it means to you?
So I heard the phrase probably like 4 years ago from a friend of mine, and also he's in my band. His name's Daniel. And whenever usually a man would have an inflated ego, he would always say, "Oh, he's telling lies about the war." And I've always liked that phrase. And then the phrase basically comes from men who came back from war would always tell stories that paint them in an incredible light. So it'd be like, oh, I fought against 60 men with a pencil and won. And the thing is, it's only his version of the story that we've heard. So there's no reason to not believe what happened. So I was going through a phase of my life where I wanted to document it, but I'm so precious about making sure I'm being fair when I document stuff. Like, because a lot of these songs speak of me in a light that isn't, I'm exaggerating the truth. And I am not talking about the full scope. So this album's called Lies About the War because I can only speak from the point of view of the person who survived, and I understand that in the stories where I'm the hero to myself, I was probably the villain to someone else. So it's just, saying like with a pinch of salt, these are the things that happened to me that made me feel good. But I'm sure along the way, I would have had to make some tough decisions that would have possibly made someone else feel bad.
Okay, I feel like that's the end of me trying to like put meaning on things because it's an actual saying. So not heard that saying, but I feel like yeah, it is like fitting and from what you said, obviously it does make so much sense. And the opening song, Just When I Thought,
Mm.
I feel like it's got this like huge intensity, like a sort of James Blake style vibration to it.
Mhm.
What about this tune did you want to set like the tone for the rest of the album? Why did you start this as the opener?
Um, the song has two parts, and the first part is very synth heavy and kind of like influences from like like people who like your Labyrinths, your James Blakes, your like there's a French artist, um I think his name is called, I can't remember what his name is, but he's really massive on Sims as well. Like your yeah. So I wanted to talk about this emotion that I'd been going through a lot, which is where I thought something was going my way, then it wasn't. And I always experience the emotion in two ways. So my first reaction is I'm heavy on it, like it's mad rageful and I'm upset about it. And then I have a very intimate relationship with that same feeling where it's like, oh man, it didn't go my way versus like, fuck, it didn't go my way. So I wanted to really describe that feeling in two parts of the same emotion. So the first half is heavy, and the second half is heavy in a different way. Yeah, it's more intimate. And I think from it was a nice transition into where I wanted the album to go, because this album is a lot more, it's a lot warmer than the things I've done in the past. So the second half is kind of how the rest of the album goes. So it's kind of me saying like a goodbye to that heavy version of myself. I'm in a lot more, I'm in a somber place now in my life. I hope it lasts long, but that's where I'm at. So I was kind of just transitioning from the heavier part of me that was always fighting to the part of me that's just letting things happen.
I feel like there's well, I've watched the music video as well, and it's like beautiful, it's intense as well. And I feel like there's like a at the very end, if people haven't watched it, actually, do you want to describe it? Do you want to tell us how it is from your vision? Was it something that you envisioned before? Was this your idea? Did you work closely with a director for it?
Yeah, I directed it, luckily. I when I write music, I kind of write the treatment at the same time. It's all the same to me. And yeah, it's the same thing, similar to the music. It's a story of two parts. It's you think it's one thing, then it presents itself as another thing, and both equally as important, but all just a slightly different shade of the same color.
Mm. I feel like there's like a you know the bit where you're on the ground and she like picks you back up again,
Yeah.
and then there's almost like a slip of character, like it's the end, but then it's like you just kind of like form back into this power stance that
Mhm.
you're like back into it. Was that meant to happen, or did you like feel like you'd finished at the end, or was that like a moment that you'd captured and you thought actually I do want to keep that in?
Um, I think the first time we saw it, it wasn't meant to be like that. Then Nadia was the lady in it. Um, then we were just laughing, and I was like, oh, this completes the story. So it wasn't like scripted, but then when I saw it, I was like, oh, we should do that again and more, yeah, more lean into it this time.
Mm. So Anna Leone is the first labeled feature that we meet on the record
Mhm.
with our song. How was it? How was it working with her?
Tough. No, tough, and because she's Anna's one of my best friends. I met her, I think, 2018. She was opening for me on tour. I was just a massive fan of her music, and I reached out for her to come on tour with us. And we bonded over. I love her Mario Kart. She's trash. I'm better than her. I'll always be better than her, Mario. Probably the best at Mario Kart in the world, if I'm being honest. Um, so we bonded over our love for video games, and she had a seat on my table ever since. But she's a true musician, like very much like writes songs in the dark in a cabin. She doesn't. She's a true musician. She writes all her stuff by herself, and I don't think she's ever done a feature before. So it took a lot of convincing. I've been trying to get her on a song since I met her. So eventually we're able to get one, and I'm just really glad that I get to immortalize our friendship. Like she means the world to me, and I get to have proof of our friendship on CD. So that feels very special to me.
I feel like if we ever get Anna Leone on the record club, we're going to have to settle the debate on Mario Kart. Otherwise, it's lies about the war.
I have video evidence. Yeah.
Okay. And then also when we if we continue with the features, so on Bang as well, I feel like the intensity is back up for this. And Toby, I'm really sorry, I'm probably going to say his surname really wrong.
Toby and Wigway.
Wigway. Thank you. I tried really hard. I love the energy on this. I love the darkness, and I kind of wanted to know, when you work with rappers, well, firstly, is Toby a friend of yours as well? Yes. How did that relationship come about?
I remember he came to my show in Houston, like I think 2019. Yeah, one of the last tours we did. So we'd known of each other since then, and it's just been like supporters of each other. And then he reached out for me to be on a record that he was working on at the time, and I was like, yeah, sure. And then I was finishing my album at the time, and I just thought, you know what, this could use Toby has a certain audacity about his approach to music, and I felt like that song could use his audacity. And I sent it to him, and he sent a verse back in like 24 hours, and that was that.
Did you have that song in mind for him like before? Or I guess you said that it could use that energy. So like, what did you send him for him to send back that verse basically? Was it like a fully fleshed song, or was it just a demo?
It was fully fleshed at that time. There was a verse where his verse was, that I took that verse out. So I sent him the track missing a verse, and I said, hey, look, I think if you're able to, I think this would be great for us. And and he was like, yeah, he liked it, and he came through.
Amazing. And also, I think selfishly, I'm going to talk about one of my favorites on the album. But Callin' is the one that I think I return to a lot. And again, you have some more features on here. Sam Henshaw, who I've seen a few times, and he's quite like soulful and gospel-y as well. And he's always got such a huge like upbeat sound. And then I don't actually know Adekunle Gold.
Sure, he's really good.
But yeah, talk to me about your relationships with these artists as well.
Those are my Nigerian brothers. So is Toby, actually. I've known Sam since we kind of came up. Maybe I put musicians that I grew up with in around London, like open mic in like year groups. Sam's like a year below me. I think I remember seeing him probably the year after I was playing open mics around London. So he's like a year below me. And but we've always shown mad love and mad support for each other. And so Coolin, I wrote Coolin maybe like a year and a half ago with a friend of mine, Silky, and another friend of mine called Ryan Keane. And it was just me. I was doing all the harmonies and stuff. And the song really talks about, at least from my perspective, it talks about, which I guess is the perspective, but it talks about the need to take time when don't make permanent decisions on temporary thoughts, that kind of nuance. And I really want to talk about it from a very masculine point of view of like, it's okay, especially as a man, to figure out what the best course of action is, as opposed to responding from a place of fear or to protect yourself. And I felt the best way to get that message across was to invite other men to sing on the song. I think typically, you do your duets with women, or you have like a nice, but I think it's rare that I see, at least I can't remember last time I've seen three male singers on a song, who are all like masculine presented anyway. So it was nice to have the three of us tell the story of manhood and the need to pace oneself. And I'm sure the story can be represented in other genders or whatever. But I think from speaking from the point of view of men, I think it was nice to have three men come together on a song and talk about something that's very vulnerable.
Mm. I can see lots of people are getting their questions to us, so we're going to be hitting those in just a moment. But remember, you can get your questions to us in the comments section below. I have loads more questions for you, but obviously we want to get to them. So I'm going to ask you, Jacob, since the release of this album, has there been a sort of surprising fan favorite, or one that has stood out to people? Perhaps they've been getting in touch with you about it for whatever reason.
Um, One that I'm surprised by. I don't know, that'll surprise me.
Or maybe an obvious fan favorite then.
I think Coolin has meant more than probably I assumed it will. I didn't like. I love all these songs and it all means something to me, but I think because your hit like Adekunle is like one of the faces of Afrobeats, and I think people are surprised to hear him in that space. They haven't heard him in that space in a while. I think um, since he transitioned to like Afro pop, he hasn't really revisited that side of him that sings kind of like more soulful songs. Like we have a song together on one of his earlier albums. So I think it was nice for people to hear him in that space again. I think that probably contributes, and I think Sam really taking the lead at the end of that song really helps.
Yeah, for sure. It's really beautiful. All right, we have Palumi on the Record Club's Instagram, who is asking, how long did it take to write By Design, Evil Knievel, and who or what inspired it?
How long to take to write By Design? By Design didn't take long. I wrote it by myself in like my spare room. Um, Probably like an hour, which sounds cooler than what it is because my approach is very like I think since COVID happened, I set up a studio in my house, which I never ever did. I've been making music for like 10 years. So I decided to find and learn how to record myself. And I realized the reason I never put a studio in my house was that I was always afraid that I would never leave because I barely leave anyway. So now if my job's also here, no one would ever see me. But it turns out that I found out that I barely go into the studio. Like I only ever go in there when I'm completely compelled by an idea. Where before I would go in just to make sure I can still do it. But like now my approach to music is more like I'd write like four lines, go beat up people on Call of Duty for like 2 hours and I'll come back. Um, but so when I had this idea for By Design, I was like sampling some tracks, and then I created this loop that I really liked, and I just wrote the whole song to this loop, and then I sent the loop to Silky, who was pretty much produced on every song on the album. He added the really lovely keys, and then I sent then I sent what we had to a friend of mine called Sam DeYoung out in Australia, and he did the rest of the production for us. The song was inspired by, I think, like just what it means. I think I genuinely believe that at our core as human beings, like by design, I think the only reason God would have made so many of us is that we're supposed to help each other. And I truly believe that. I think unfortunately things happen that people see life a little differently, but I truly believe that at our core, we're meant to lend each other our skills and talk and practice empathy and love on one another. So yeah, the songs just talks about that. Like at our core, I think we're meant to take chances, like Evil Knievel, and we're meant to love
What's
him.
Evil Knievel again? I swear I haven't heard that since like my childhood.
He's a stuntman. He's the stuntman. Evil Knievel.
Okay.
Yeah, he's incredible. I remember
Oh,
one of
this is
his
amazing.
things. He did like a very famous bike jump in Wembley, barely made it. But I don't know if yeah, he barely made it. But yeah, he died a couple of years ago. But I think he died a couple of years ago because yeah, if he's alive, apologies. But I'm pretty sure he's
Starting rumours here.
he's not with us anymore. But yeah, he's the stuntman.
Okay, yeah, it's ringing bells. It's ringing bells. All right, Karis on the Record Club's Facebook page says, "What was the inspiration for the artwork?"
The artwork was done by a guy called Tariq Oliver.
There we
Um,
go.
what I got from it, so the artwork existed. So I was just a fan of his artwork. I think I got like three of his pieces in my house. Um, there's a concept called dual perception, which is almost exclusively um, happens to people of disenfranchised groups and women, and occasionally other groups of people will experience it in short moments. But dual perception talks about the idea that you're aware of who you are and what the world perceives you as, and there's always this gray area where you're like, all right, cool, I know this person sees me as this, but I know myself to be this. How do I navigate this space where I'm proud of who I am in a situation, but I'm also holding space for this person? Or do I just or do I just decide to choose myself and fuck however this person feels? And it's common with women experience that a lot when they're deciding like what to wear, how to speak,
Mm,
how do I navigate the situation? Though I know what my intention is, I know how this person sees me. And it's like, what power do I give away in this interaction? So again, lies about the war, dual perception.
I don't know how you're saying that you're gonna be able to like sit down and write a song so like quickly within an hour, because all these different like phrases and stuff, it like ties in so perfectly, and it's just like feels like it comes together so well. Maybe you're just like constantly like absorbing.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say that's always what I tell people. Like, I'm never not writing. Like, it's not, I don't necessarily have to have a pen and paper in hand or be in a studio. Even when I'm gaming, I'm thinking, like, I think writing is like a constant state of paying attention to phrases, to colors, to adverts, like the music that's playing in the background in an elevator, the bass on radio. Like writing is breathing almost, like we're just constantly ready for inspiration to hit you.
mm. Right, we have one more. Seb on the Record Club Facebook page says, okay, this leads on quite nicely. Before we finish, we have a couple of minutes. What song did you find most difficult to create?
Um, God, let me see. Mm, I would say I didn't find any of them difficult, to be fair. I would say if I had to choose, I said probably Aim for My Head. But it was more.
That's the emotional one. That's the tearjerker.
It's weird. Like, songs never make me cry. So when people tell me my songs make them cry, I find it so interesting. Um, I think because of I was very specific on how I wanted. There's a moment in a song where everything shifts, and I was very specific. I'm never that specific. I was very specific as to how I wanted that part to feel, and I think the process of communicating your thoughts to people who were helping you out is just like a whole different language. I think that part took longer than the rest of the record. It was mixed by an amazing guy called Kez. He mixed by most of the album, and I think going back and forth with him was the song that we had the longest amount of back and forth on, because I really wanted to push the boundaries of like, he's just, he's by the book. He's like, oh, the limits this and that. I was like, fuck all that. I'm gonna push past that. I really wanted that part to feel like drowning, and I just wasn't gonna rest until I got that feeling out of the song. and we got there in the end, and I was really happy with what he did.
Well, that is actually all we have time for today, Jacob. I know you've got the jazz festival in France to get to. Good luck with your first performance for this amazing album. And also, we also have to announce the winner of this week's Bowers and Wilkins Wireless Headphones Prize. So we have, drum roll, Harris on the Record Club's page. Make sure to slide into the Record Club's DMs. We'll get those headphones to you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and sending in your question. Jacob Banks, thank you so much. This album's brilliant. Of course, everyone, make sure to go get yourself a physical copy of Lies About the War once this episode is over. And the next guest will be announced on the Record Club social media very soon. So make sure you're following us. Plus, all previous episodes are available to watch back on our YouTube channel. See you soon. And Jacob Banks, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. God bless.